Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of Adibeng, where we try to untangle some of the knots within the African continent. Now, in this particular episode, we'll be having an amazing conversation with a phenomenal brother of mine on the topic titled The African Student Expatriate: Challenges, Lessons, and Roles. The African Student Expatriate: Challenges, Lessons, and Roles. Now, the amazing brother that we'll be having this conversation with is a brother that I encountered during my time in the International Islamic University of Malaysia. For those who might know, IIUM. He was practically my first encounter with superstardom. This was the brother that was engaged in countless cultural, youth, and essentially social development programs in his capacity as a host, an MC, a moderator, and or organizer. He's none other than brother Iddi Ahmed. So join me as we unpack the distinct experiences of this stupendous brother and see what lessons we can extract from it. Let's go. Brother Iddi, welcome, and thank you for joining us today, really.
Thank you, my brother Mohammed. Thanks for having me. It's a distinct pleasure to be with you tonight. It's been long, man.
Pleasure's all, man. It has been a while, yeah. All right, so let's get straight into it, I guess. Right. But before we get into the topic at hand, how about we explore you yourself a little bit, right? So I guess the first question would be, tell us about yourself. What are some of your current commitments, whether academics or personal life, and just work and stuff like that. And tell us about some of your travel experiences. Like just what is in the Iddi Ahmed package, I guess.
All right, thank you very much, brother Mohammed. It's a pleasure, like I mentioned, and of course, you did say a lot of things which I don't think I figure in it, but thanks for flattering me a lot.
It's part of the job. It's part of the job.
If I do remember, I know that when I was leaving, you took over the MC, and mashallah, man, you took it. You did it way better than me, man. I was watching you. You're very creative.
No, come on, yeah. You just
trust me, man. I kept telling everyone around me that this brother is really creative, and you did a really wonderful job there. So, like you mentioned, Iddi Ahmed from Cameroon, of course, born and raised in Cameroon, partially in Nigeria, Ethiopia, then came to Malaysia for university studies, of course. And that's where we met. So after my undergraduate studies in Malaysia, I moved back to Cameroon to pursue my professional master's in diplomacy, which I completed in the year 2017. Then I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And since then, I worked for like 2 years there, and then I got like an offer, some sort of training to come to Turkey. And right now I'm in Turkey, and I'm continuing in the same domain, diplomacy in an international organization. It's called ICYF. It's the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum. It's an affiliated institution to the OIC. So they are mandated to handle youth policies. But for me, it's a new experience because I don't only get to work in my field as a diplomat, but I get to also see the different projects and programs that this prestigious organization is implementing. Added to that, when it comes to academic, I did register for my PhD course here in Turkey. Actually, that's what is keeping me here. But unfortunately, I haven't yet started my PhD course because they have a rule here that you need to learn Turkish. And I was enrolled, I was fortunately enrolled into a Turkish PhD program. So I said to myself, let me first learn the language and we shall see. So right now, I did learn the language for like about a year. And at the last minute, I couldn't pass the last level. So I need to do a receipt. So I put that on hold as well. I'm just trying to revise, my classes, lessons. Then I'm just going to take an exam from a language center. So basically, this is me. I'm in Istanbul now. So we're trying our best, and we're trying to see if we can look for new horizons.
Yes, may the Lord facilitate your, the means for you to learn the language and then, get done with your PhD in the soonest time possible. I'm sure there's a lot of initiatives that you want to talk about. There are a lot of initiatives that you want to talk about in this PhD. So hopefully they all get facilitated and get done because we We need, more people like you in the continent, really, just on the ground and just, pushing the country forward to full thrust. All right. So you said absolutely. So you said you started off in Cameroon, right? That's where you were born and raised. Is that where you spent?
Yeah. I mean, I was born in Cameroon, but we were in Ethiopia back then. I mean, my mom just came to Cameroon during the holidays. She gave birth to me. Then we moved to Ethiopia. I think we spent like 3 years. Then we moved to Nigeria. Where I had the opportunity to spend 7 years there. That's where I actually started my primary school education. And then I moved back to Cameroon eventually, completed high school before I came to Malaysia. Yeah.
I see. So it was Cameroon, you were born in Cameroon, and then right after your parents took you to Ethiopia?
Yeah, we were already in Ethiopia. I think I was conceived even in Ethiopia, but my mom just came to Cameroon just to give birth, and then we just flew back, So my dad was already in Ethiopia with my mom.
Okay. I see. So wait, does that mean that you didn't spend time in Cameroon? Like, what's the situation? Like, how long did you spend? Okay.
I spent almost like 10 years because, if I'm not mistaken, we came back almost the year 2000, and I left Cameroon for Malaysia 2010. So yeah, a decade. I spent like because I completed high school there. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so you had the whole transit experience, right? Cameroon to Ethiopia, back to Cameroon, and then to Nigeria. Okay. How long did you spend in Nigeria? Yeah. How was the
Nigeria? 7 years. 7 years.
7 years. Okay. Yeah. So now you just speak the Nigerian thing now.
No, of course. Pidgin is one of
the pidgin
best languages.
So you want to come? No. I was just testing you just to make sure. I have no expertise. Don't expose me here, yeah. All right, that's cool. Yeah. So now, mashallah. So there was the Nigerian experience, there was the Cameroonian experience, and obviously, despite these being countries in West Africa in the same region and stuff, the languages that are spoken there are vastly different, right? The culture, to a certain extent, is different, but similar but distinct to some extent. Right? In terms of language, right? What are some of the languages that you've been dabbling with?
But right now, I mean, when I was in Lagos, I remember in school they were trying to teach us Yoruba, but I completely forgot that because I was confronted with learning because I had to learn French at home because we had like a private tutor who was coming and giving us French classes. So my mind was
in Nigeria.
Yeah, in Nigeria, because we knew that in Cameroon we speak both English and French as official language. So my father was like, "Of course, I'll get you enrolled in an English educational system, but French is also important because we're not gonna stay here. We might move back, and in Cameroon, at least 80% of the population speaks French. So I learned French, and then of course I speak Fulfulde because I'm Fulani.
That's what's up.
I speak Pidgin English, which I learned also in Cameroon because people usually think that Pidgin is only spoken in Nigeria, but no, it's spoken in Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, if I'm not mistaken, Liberia, and Cameroon. So, and now I'm learning Turkish. In Malaysia, I was learning Arabic, but I wasn't able to complete my Arabic.
Arabic is a different thing, Arabic is a different thing.
Beautiful language.
Amazing. Very, very important as well, French, okay, so there's French, you said there's Fulfulde?
English, Fulfulde, learning Turkish.
Okay, English. That's what's up. That's it's a good package to have, So like moving from that, tell us about some of your tell us what your first how do I put this? Your first time traveling experiences were like, right? So you moved from Cameroon. You might have been a baby at that point in time. So let's maybe skip forward to the time you spent in Nigeria. What was like? What was the you being in almost a foreign land, right? I don't know. It's still in the same region, but like you being in a slightly foreign land, to your own. What was that feeling like? For both Nigeria, and then you said thereafter you went back to Cameroon and you came to Malaysia, right? So what were the first time experiences moving from one place to another? How did you find that?
Of course, regarding Ethiopia, I don't have really much memory about Ethiopia because I was really very young. Like I was a baby, basically from 0 years to 3 years. you barely can remember much. But of course, I have the good and vivid memories of Nigeria, of my time in Nigeria. And like you said something from the beginning. We have similar cultures. It's not because we speak different languages, but that means that we are so different. I mean, in terms of how we respect people, how we approach people, how we think, it was the same. The only difference was when I moved from Nigeria to Cameroon. I wasn't that in a culture shock, but I was struggling with a language barrier because I had to start speaking French because we moved to the capital city, which is mostly French speaking. Even if I was still continuing in Anglo-Saxon educational system, I was still confronted with speaking French. Even for full day, I wasn't really that fluent in full day. Even now, I'm still not fluent, but at least I speak way better than when I was younger.
Is real, huh? Those uncles and aunties have no mercy.
Yeah. And the good thing is, I remember that back when we used to be in Nigeria, like every holidays, my mom will make sure that we'll go to Cameroon for holidays. Like she will insist, she will tell my dad, please, we need to take this kid. So that connection was still there. Even if we're in a different country, the connection was there. And trust me, the northern part of Nigeria, the northern part of Cameroon, the cultures are similar. It's the same, the way we dress, the way what we eat, the way we talk. So yeah, it wasn't that of a culture shock. The only culture shock I faced was language barriers, and the educational system was different. Honestly speaking, Cameroon's educational system is tough, very tough. So I had to go through private classes so that I could keep up. I needed to update my understanding about this new system. So that's the shock I had. Then for about a decade, of course, I didn't move. I didn't move out of Cameroon because even within Cameroon, I also faced two different transitions. I was first in a boarding school in an English region. And then I left. I came to the capital city, then continued high school. So even that, there was some kind of shock I was meeting on my way. But then, of course, when we used to travel before, we were traveling with parents. So me going to Malaysia was the first time I'm traveling all by myself, And in my mind, I thought me going to Malaysia is just like me going to Nigeria. Like it's the same thing. Meet people. If you say hi, they say hi back at you. And I remember the first thing I experienced was when I was about to board the plane between Dubai to Kuala Lumpur. I was in the waiting room and this Chinese lady was sitting down, and I don't know, as a courtesy, I mean, when anybody that comes sit beside me, I always greet because that's the African way. We have that respect. And I greeted her, but she totally ignored me.
Wow.
And I that was the first experience. I was like, oh shit, maybe I'm outside there. Let me just control myself and observe. But I don't know if she heard me. I'm not judging. I don't know what happened, but that was the first experience. And then, of course, coming to Malaysia was new experience because we came to IUM, which had almost like 120 different nationalities within the premises of the university. So you can imagine the different culture shock we had to go by. But luckily, from the first day, I met amazing people. And I think one of them very well. Hamza Musaze is my best man. We met on the first day. And the first day we were in school, we met. He was pulling his luggages, and I tried to help him. And that's how we got to know each other. And it just went on and on. It wasn't too hard in Malaysia because we were in uni. But of course, sometimes when you're with friends and you're with your lecturers, there are some differences of opinion, of perception, and other things. But at the end of the day, transiting to Malaysia was easier for me, I think, because Malaysia is also a Muslim country. People are also very reserved and all that. So
now that's great to know. Shout out to Hamza, by the way, Hamza Musaze. Dude from Afghan, right? Not a good person at all, but just shout out to him. Right. So you mentioned that some of these challenges that you face, particularly in Malaysia, right, is you traveling abroad by yourself for the first time. Your parents just put you on a plane. They were like, "All right, all the best. they'll do well and make us proud and stuff like that, right? So you got to Malaysia, there's this culture shock of like, there's just even disparity in terms of like this gap in terms of development. That's at least as far as a lot of the brothers or sisters that came directly from whether Guinea or Nigeria, some of these countries, they come to Malaysia and they just the airport itself is structured quite different, I would say. So that was something that a lot of them pointed out to me, from the ones that I've had conversation with. So your take was also interesting. You said you had this incident with this Chinese woman and stuff, right? So you noticed that I need to, you can say, I need to carry myself slightly different from how I would usually and stuff like that. But you obviously you didn't take it as a negative thing. You gave her the benefit of the doubt. You gave the whole situation the benefit of the doubt of like, okay, maybe it could have been this, maybe it could have been that, maybe she was having a bad day. It could have been 1,000 reasons. So to add to that, what were some of the perhaps misconceptions that you had about coming to Malaysia and stuff? You assumed it would be a walk in the park, and it kind of was. Like you mentioned, the university we were in, right? It was filled with international students, just in every corner and stuff, right? But like, really, what were some of the preconceived notions or the misconceptions you had coming to Malaysia, perhaps? The challenges, perhaps. Let me put it up.
Before I reply to that, I think it wasn't maybe appropriate for me to even and judge the lady whom I tried. Okay. I was reading because I don't know if she's from China. She was Asian looking. So back then, we had that perception. When you're living back home, anyone that looks very Asian, we start with China. So I think I should have just said there was an Asian good looking person. So I need to correct my statement because maybe she wasn't from there. But definitely we were boarding the same plane because we were in the same waiting room. But I think, like you said, you mentioned maybe it was just a situation where she was going through a hard time. Oh, she didn't understand what I said. It's possible. Maybe. It's possible. So yeah. Or when it comes to misconceptions or what I already, before going to Malaysia, I was told of how they are because I had cousins who were there already. So they kind of told us it's a Muslim countries. Malaysians are calm, very reserved. You never see them provoking you and all that. So for me, I was really looking forward and I didn't really feel uncomfortable. Of course, when we were in Malaysia, we faced certain isolated incidents of racism. And this kind of struck me because I wasn't used to racism. I think you didn't have the opportunity to grow up in Africa. You will not see racism. Maybe you will see tribalism when it comes to favor. When you want to favor someone, you will see that kind of thing. But that only comes to certain social problems, like. Let's say, for example, you see two families want to get married. There's this tribalism that comes on and off. But when people are working in the streets, when people are working in the office, you don't really feel like, okay, you're different from the other. Everything is cool. Is when now we want to deal with something particular that this pride that tribes love to have. They start to project it. So. For me, Malaysia, definitely, I had a very good positive feedback regarding Malaysia. But of course, like I told you, we faced some incident of racism, but I would call them isolated because
absolutely. Definitely. As you would in any other country that you go to that is foreign to yours. So I'm sure if a Malaysian or a Malay person or a Chinese person were to go to our countries and stuff, and they, from their perspective, they might have definitely encountered something that that could be referred to as a form of racism. Please carry on. So some of these.
Basically, that was it. The adaptation was fine, like I told you. Made amazing people, and one thing I avoided doing when I left Cameroon was when I went to Malaysia, I did not look for Cameroonians first. Because I knew how Cameroonians behave. I knew how Cameroonians think. So for me, it wasn't it wasn't something new for me. So I wanted to discover other cultures. So I started mingling around with people who were from different backgrounds, different continents. I was probably most of the time I was usually the only black even in our crew. Yeah, because I refused it. The only time I'll hang out with Cameroonians is maybe when there's an event or when my cousins do some brunch at home or barbecue, then we gather and do that. But other than that, I was always with foreigners, because for me, as soon as I stepped out of Cameroon, I was like, I need to make sure when I come back, I come back with a different perspective. Because man, life is about fighting for space, fighting for territory. You need to assert yourself. You need to show people that you're not more the same Iddi Ahmed that was here a few years ago. What's the point of us traveling abroad and then coming back and we're still the same? No, there's something you have to bring back home, a fresh impetus, so that people also get the opportunity to benefit from the experience you had in that country.
Absolutely. That's really interesting, right? So you mentioned isolated, incidents of racism. This you notice perhaps that there's a cultural difference, right? You said Malaysians earlier you said Malaysians you were told at least that they were more reserved, right? And then you came to find out that they are reserved, whereas in our parts of the world, right, people are more, I would say, expansive, where literally you just a kid could be walking on the road and adults would just come and tell him, hey, where are you going? You're not supposed to be here, this and that, and stuff like that, right? So these are some of the differences, I would say, right? Now, what were some of the other cultural differences that really stood out to you of like, okay, this is something that is either completely normal in my country, but over here it's considered very, not normal, right? Or it could be something that is abnormal in your country, but over here it's very normal. What were some of these moments, if you could recall them?
For me, for Malaysia, I remember that the fact that they were so reserved, so patient, it was the opposite of how most Africans are. Because, back home, everyone is in a hurry. Everyone is in a rush. Everyone is bold enough to insult you, to tell you something when something doesn't. And the funniest thing is they always say, we're always in a hurry, but we're always late. So, we have this African time. You see, Africans are always in a rush, but we're still late for whatever, thing we're going for. So I remember once my patience was tested, because it was for me kind of a shock. Not that I wasn't angry, because I'm someone who is calm by nature, but it was very fascinating for me. I was in the bus, and this bus driver, I think I was going to Idaman. He literally packed the bus. We were waiting inside. He went down. We thought there was a problem with the bus. He went and started buying food, makan. He started buying food. Why? Most of us, we had things to do. We were late. Maybe we had something to do in Idaman that day. And I was so surprised, because no one said a word. Everyone was patient.
Everyone understood the situation except for you.
I was like, brother, if this was in Cameroon, you would not find the bus man. Some brother would have just, drove off you. Or you would have received insults. People would have been screaming. I was like, whoa, they're so patient. Even sometimes I get out of the taxi, and by the time the taxi wants to give me back the rest of the money that he owes me, you see how cars are bringing up behind the taxis. He's in the middle of the road. No one honks. So I was like, whoa, these people are so patient.
So composed, very
Exactly, man. Exactly. So you need a lot of patience there, because you could even see it sometimes when you work with them, when you study with them. They take everything light. Sometimes you're in a study group and they're like, brother, it's time for makan. They have love for makan. They'll say, let's la. They'll be like la all the time. So
the nasi lama and tepares, those the perfect combination. Right? Were you a fan of the nasi lama?
Yeah, of course, man.
Okay. What was your favorite Malaysian dish?
Nasi lemak, of course, and nasi ayam kunyit. It was really good.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the shock I received, now I just remember was
okay.
I'm someone who eats rice a lot before.
Okay.
When I was in Cameroon. Then when I came to Malaysia, of course, Asians eat a lot of rice, so it became like an abuse.
Okay.
So for me, the first thing, the first thing that shocked me, I remember the second day I was in Malaysia, was what we had for breakfast. It was rice. I was like, whoa, who eats rice for breakfast? Because we were used to the French bread,
for sure.
French toast and stuff. So Malaysia was something different. I saw rice at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. I'm like, what?
Okay. And that perfect, the leaf, right? And it just opens up like a flower.
This was an interesting one. So I called my parents like, oh, I didn't know they eat rice this early here.
Okay. What was the bumpers? What was your experience with the bumpers? The drinks inside the plastic bags.
No, actually, I wasn't so surprised by it because we have something similar back home. We have, I think Bisap, the hibiscus juice.
Yeah, Bisap.
They sell it in those plastics back home.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For me, it was just normal. Just that I noticed that they love ice. Like you just see the juice is this little, but because the ice is so much, it goes up. And I was like, man, people love ice,
the colder the better. Yeah, that's what's up. Now, really interesting insight that you've given, on some of these challenges that you face.